Boy, peace and love, peace and love, peace and love. Yo, to all the angels talking from me, through you, from above. Big up to everybody around the world, yeah? You know who it is, your Imperial Highness, Pharaoh Tutu Kamun, the Rastafari, I and I, which is you in the flesh, in the physical body, yeah? So enough people don't want to hear what we have to say. So see it for yourself, because a picture paints 1,000 words now. As you can see, DFT has 284 subscribers. I've watched this video a while back. As you can see, you can't save it. Yeah, you can't comment upon it. Let me tell you this, that you can't even subscribe to it. You can't even subscribe to it. You can't press no notifications. This is how you know the information is bang on point. Bang on point. Here to anoint. Here to set you free. I mean, this video is 2 hours, no, more than 2 hours, 6 seconds and 27 minutes. Yeah, the corrupt government exposed birth certificates, legal fiction. Go watch the whole video, yeah. And big up to everybody that's a part of this video. Now, I understand when I say the Jamaican and the Caucasian, which is Jamaican and the Irish Caribbean, because the whole world is an island, yeah. Together, we come together to create the Asian. So from the Jamaican and Caucasian, you get the Asian and Malaysian. And that's how you get the whole situation. So to the Jamaican and the Irish, you are the original creators. You are the original royal, original kings and queen. I am in. Now all you have to do to reclaim your crown, your throne, because you are all gods. Every one of you on this plane of existence is a god. Or you have the choice to become a devil. But we're all gods. And all you have to do is reclaim your sovereignty, your godliness, because everything is free. And that the devil created money, banks, religion, in order to take away your happiness and your freeness, and creating money. Money, which we know everything is free. So from you opt out of using that birth certificate name, you'll become back to your royal self, your throne, your godly self. Without further ado, listen to this lovely woman here.
To common law, the law of the land, the law which governs all people, the original law, which is quite straightforward. To me, it's a case of don't cause any harm or loss or damage to any person, and don't cause that to happen to anybody, and everything's good. And you know, that's pretty straightforward and simple. Everyone can understand what that means. Legal pertains to our legal system and where statutes and acts come from. And it's a system that doesn't actually relate to common law. So we've got these two systems running side by side. We've been fooled into believing that they are one in the same. And so when police are policing the streets, we're enforcing policies, acts and statutes which, when looked into, are not actually necessarily lawful.
Common law is the law of the land, and laid down over centuries of court cases in front of juries, humans making law for humans.
For the severest measure of punishment.
Common law pertains to lawful, and anything outside of lawful falls under the legal or no system at all. The legal system covers all statutes and acts and civil matters. Things like owing money to banks, not paying fines or tax. Basically, anything that isn't criminal. For there to be a crime, there has to be an injured party. In this case, a human. And there are three basic principles that all law needs to apply to. They are as follows. Do not breach the peace. Cause no one else any harm. Cause no one else any loss. Do not use mischief in your promises and agreements. Apart from that, everything else is free rein.
Lawful refers to the natural law, the law of the land, okay? And that's not causing any harm to anyone, Obviously, you're not stealing from anyone and not using fraud in your contracts. So basically, you're not doing any harm or trying to get one over on anyone else. Legal refers to the statutes, which I mentioned earlier. And the statutes are basically all the rules of society. And not just, we haven't just got the UK statutes, but we've got all the European statutes. So you've literally got tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of laws, which every day, we could be breaking without knowing.
We all know that you can't go around raping and killing and murdering and invading. We don't need fucking laws for that. Like, we'll deal with that as it comes. But anything other than that, what you want to smoke, where you want to live, where you want to take a shit, who you want to insult, not a fucking other adult on this planet. Like, what are you, my dad? Are you my fucking dad telling me what to do? Like, that's how I feel now when police or, like, control freaks try and give it to me.
Legal is essentially according to contract. You have to, the rules that are sort of handed down to us, but you have to contract with them before they become law. And that law is contract law. You enter into contract, you're bound by it. So yeah, it's two different things. One's overlaid on top of the other.
Parliament has no say in common law and is bound by it. So they create Acts of Parliament, and in the US, Acts of Congress. Because government is a creation of man, and a creation of man can never be above man, they need your consent before they have the force of law.
The principle of by consent, if people don't realise, is that we obviously have police because we want them, and that we only have to do what they say if it's reasonable, if we consent to what they're asking to. That is the principle of it for me. Obviously, the larger issue is the assumption that everybody who's walking on this land has given consent to be policed by these people. And that's an assumption that most police officers in this country live by without realising that it's not true. And this is where diplomatic immunity is a good example of where, well, actually the consent isn't given and the police don't have the power to act. Another good example that shows it's all about jurisdiction is that our police have no power at all at the American embassy. But that's on our land, isn't it? And that's another example. Embassies are a good example that shows that jurisdiction is portable. It's not tied to land, it's tied to the party. So I can carry my jurisdiction with me, which is the whole principle of sovereignty in general.
My understanding of policing by consent is that, as I said earlier, when a law is passed, for it to be lawful, it has to have the consent of the people. People have to consent to that law and consent to abide by it. But unfortunately, I think we're in a system now where that obviously doesn't happen, but people don't realise that by verbally agreeing with, let's say, a police officer in relating to a parking ticket, that you're entering into a verbal contract, and by agreeing with what the officer is saying, you're consenting to being bound by the law or whatever the law is. And people, when we say words like "do you understand," when a police officer says to you, reads the caution and says "do you understand," what they're actually saying is, do you stand under our authority? Now again, I didn't know this as a police officer, and even the words that are spoken as a police officer, police don't even necessarily understand themselves. So I believe that people have to consent to a law for it.
Make sure you know this is a police officer, ex-police officer telling you this, Okay, alright.
To apply to them in the legal sense, because it's not common law.
So when you interact with the police or the court system, they will ask you for your name, address, and date of birth. This is done to create joinder between you and your legal fiction, and to trick you into representing it. Once you agree to represent your legal fiction, now they can deal with you.
And it's that simple, family. Yeah? It's that simple. Once you say you're that name on that birth certificate, they can deal with you. Now, understand ya, I'm talking to everyone, but not everybody's gonna be listening because the Jamaican and the Irish, Caribbean are the first original creation, yeah, the true royal bloodline upon earth, and everyone is our child. And we created the devil. The devil is also our child, and the devil's used each and every one of us, our children especially, creating money, put them at the top of the ladder in order to put the true creators, the gods, the parents, the mother and fathers to all nations, all things, all creations at the bottom. This is why we don't need money, because we own everything anyway. Do you get that, Jamaican and Irish? Obviously, the Jamaican, Caribbean, yeah. We created our Irish children, our brothers and sisters. Without our Irish brothers and sisters, the dark and the light, yeah, nothing would be bright, yeah. We'd still be trapped in the darkness, the dark moon and the full moon. There would be no Asians, there would be no Malaysians, there would be no Chinese, no Africans, there'd be none of this. This started from the spiritual realm, and it had to happen in the physical realm. Anyway.
They can only apply their legal mechanisms if they have the name of the slave they're dealing with. If you state, well, I don't want to give my name, then they can't apply the mechanisms to you because they have no name for their paperwork. And remember, all their systems work via paperwork. It's all paperwork.
And the only time they can do anything as in apply an arrest or is if you breach the peace. Yeah? So if there's one of you and you're by yourself and you're breaching the peace, as in you're raging about something, they will outnumber you and obviously handcuff you, try not to make them stick you. That's how they do it, family. What? As long as you're not breaking the peace, there's nothing they can do. Yeah? That's the 4 laws. Remember that was the number 1 law? Breaking the peace. Okay.
I think you might be wanted. Well, if I'm wanted, what's the problem? Could be arrested. Well, then arrest me then, innit? I need to establish who you are. No, you don't. If you think I'm the person that's wanted, arrest me, innit? Where do you live? Tell me your date of birth. What I want is that. What do you want? I want your details now. Lock me up for what? Give me your details. Give me your details. Give me your details.
Well, get my details. And I tell you this as well. Yeah, I tell you this as well. I'm not a criminal. I'm a peaceful man sitting out here. I just burn down the system of corruption and pollution that will not represent.
But in the meantime, I'll leave you to it. But obviously, if there are any problems, then I might have to come back and obtain your details and speak to you further.
Look, you have no right to just leave me to it. You have no right to say you're going to come back and ask for my details. I'm me, he's him, you're you. That's our details. Am I obliged to give you my details?
I've spoken to you.
Yes.
Okay, I've asked you to speak to me.
Yes.
Give me your details. You have my details.
Am I obliged to give you my details?
You're not obliged to give me your details.
Oh, great, okay.
Why?
How are you define yourself under the sex crime definition?
Am I obliged to answer that, sir? I do not wish to answer any questions, sir.
You don't have to. I'm just asking you.
Am I obliged?
You're not
no,
obliged.
I'm not obliged. No comment.
Okay, that's fine.
Jamaican, Caribbean, Irish, Jamaica, know your power. Tell them these are the real kings and the real queens. And they will address you as, yes, your majesty. Enough of them are robot. Enough of them are this. Enough of them are that. We don't want to go into that. They're all our children. Yeah? How are they all our children? Because we all come from the nothingness. We all come from the Jamaican, Caribbean black man, which is the nothingness, the darkness. The black man fought obviously the Jamaican woman into existence in order to create a porthole to come to this physical existence, in order to use his gene, cross it with the fish gene to create what we call the beautiful mermaids, the Irish, the children, our brothers and sisters, in order to interbreed, to create what we know now as every beautiful Asian, Malaysian, Caucasian, every situation.
What are you doing?
Am I obliged to answer that, sir?
No?
No comment.
Okay. Are you going to answer any other questions?
If I'm obliged, I will. But if I'm not obliged, then I won't be answering any questions.
Family, it's over. Catch part 2.